Now they up to 1,000 square feet, they only allow you to relocate as Category 4 wetland, so long as it's not part of a larger complex of critical areas. It can be relocated, but that did decrease. So this is what we wanted to show for the wetland buffer changes, where we took ecology's guidance and made our current practice basically the same practice as what we're doing now, just sort of in reverse. So right now, on the left, high and moderate impact uses. So a high impact use would be like a big housing project, and a moderate impact use would be a paved trail. In our current way that we look at these, a project would come in and it's sort of assumed that they're doing the mitigation measures that would give them the moderate impact use buffer. If they're not doing certain actions, many of which are required under the stormwater manuals or other laws, then we were supposed to add 30% to the buffer. In the new way, we're just having the applicant come in and show us, I should get this moderate impact use because I'm doing all of these things that the state allows me to do and the guidance shows us. So it's the same buffer basically, but they just have to show us what they're doing instead of us looking for it. Detour for streams. So when we received those agency comments, we received from Department of Natural Resources, Ecology, and Fish and Wildlife. DNR and I may speak in acronyms, so DNR is Department of Natural Resources and DFW is Fish and Wildlife. I'll try not to, but it happens. So Department of Natural Resources and Ecology suggestions were implementable. Some of them had to do with definitions, better wording in certain areas. Fish and Wildlife comments were much more concerning and onerous. In terms of what Fish and Wildlife has provided in best available science and the guidance for implementing the science, the best available science is generally considered sound. And this is what Charlie was asking about earlier, but what they've done is instead of they're using their own science rather than Department of Natural Resources science, which is based on timber harvest. And so when you go out and you cull all the trees for a certain amount of time or while they're doing, and Stu actually could probably tell us, where is he? There he is. He could tell us a lot more about this, but when they go out, they have to have certain buffers from streams and wetlands when they're actually harvesting the trees. And that's what all the stream buffers up until now were based on, was this temporary impact of harvesting. So they updated the science, and what it showed was, one, that at a minimum you need 100 feet of buffer from any wetland, regardless or not, or stream, regardless or not if it's able to have fish in it, if it's fish habitable, just in order to clean out all the pollutants in that area between the stream and the edge of that buffer. But for their guidance, they came up with this site potential tree height model, and it ranged from that minimum 100 feet and in Newcastle up to 231 feet based on individual site analyses. So what would happen is a property owner would have to come in, they'd have to look at what kind of species of trees they had, and then based on that kind of tree they'd have to think about or know how high tall the tree would get after 200 years, and then all of that would play into this riparian management corridor that they would have, which is a lot harder to implement as a jurisdiction, especially when we're all trying to streamline permitting. So that's where Facet came in. They helped us update our best available science from the last update, the last critical areas update. And then they gave us what's called a gap analysis, which was in the packet, but basically this says, these are all the places where you're missing information. And then, Facet's worked with a lot of different cities in the area, so they were able to provide us with some sort of best practices amongst, and regular practices among the city, and they were more familiar with Fish and Wildlife, what they were looking for. So without droning on too long, we came to this backed up through this research version of stream buffers, was the recommended model. 150 feet from the current code, which is 100, and then 100 for type N streams, which are supposed to be non-fish bearing, non-fish habitable. And this slide just compares some of the issues with the tree height model, which I've already gone over. They also provided us with a GIS map of what it looks like for different properties. Now, there's a caveat that this data is from DNR. Each site needs to be independently verified, but the red option would have been that site potential tree height buffer. The yellow is our existing code, and this like periwinkle color is what we would be adopting as a city under the recommended code. So it does increase, just not quite as much as the guidance from the state. Another way to look at this is just the difference between what we're calling this predictive model or the buffer model. You can see that there's, about 6 times the number of homes that are, and this is the percent covered, so by each parcel. So if we're looking at that 80 to 100% coverage, it does definitely go up in this situation. But then if you look at what we're proposing, this 82% is almost tenfold under the tree height model of properties that would be 100% covered. So it seems to be a better compromise, I think, is what the Planning Commission felt. Okay, so questions from the open house. Are we doing what we're required? Yes, because we're following best available science, and that's what we're supposed to do. If you have questions about that, I'm happy to answer them. This critical area map shown on the map doesn't reflect my property. So if that map didn't, if people look at their properties and they're like, there's no way this could be fish habitable, that is why you have an independent professional look at your site. Or if you say, there's no steep slope, and we've seen this, something is mapped as a steep slope and it actually isn't, that's why you always have a professional come and survey your site. And then what we're doing about the culturally significant trees and the trees over 100 years old per the Snoqualmie tribe comments, that is something that our comprehensive plan identifies, especially the culturally significant trees, which are trees that were actually altered, if you're not familiar, by the tribes for wayfinding and other monuments for other reasons. That's something we're looking at as part of the climate element. So anyway, hopefully that helps a little bit, and I'll leave it up for questions. Any questions or comments from the council? Councilmember Jacobs?
Can we go back to the slide that had the house on it with the 200-foot stream line? I just have a quick question. So in this slide, theoretically, you could tear down the house and go up as whatever height theoretically you wanted to make the house?
It would have to be code compliant, so our current height limitation is 30 feet. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councilmember.
Yeah, so when we're talking about I think you can go back one more slide. You have the critical buffer, then you have the, maybe it's a couple of slides back, but this one. Then you have the setback. The critical area buffer, if it takes up, let's say, half of my property, if that half of the property is already developed in some way, landscaped and all that kind of stuff, does that get to stay? Or do I have to allow my property to revert to some sort of wild state to make it part of the critical buffer?
Yeah, so the idea is no net loss of function. So if it's already been disturbed, then it can be maintained as it is. We just wouldn't want it to become, if it's grass, we wouldn't want someone to put impervious surface on there.
Yeah, no,
Something like
totally
that.
get that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have to let it revert back to its natural state, I could continue to maintain a landscaped property if it's already currently being landscaped.
Correct.
Got it. Good, thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. I think we can move on. Okay, thank you. All right. Well, then the other, and is there anything you wanted to say about anything before I move on?
No.
Okay. So for our, and I didn't, would it help if I pulled up the packet for tonight? I was just gonna work off the packet materials. Here, let me-
I think it's good to pull up for audience and anyone virtually.
Yeah, let me pull that up.
Thank you, Eric.
Our super secret file structure. Oh. Go. All right, so or do you want to give an introduction to what the planning commission does? And then I can.
I will give that introduction, not for the benefit of the council, which is very familiar and has some very deep planning commission experience on it, but for people who are new to this issue. The planning commission is a body that has to review every change in city law that affects land use. And that's a pretty broad category. It's everything from what kind of sign can you put on your property and how big is that sign and where is it placed, to, as you saw tonight, critical areas, to what can be built in a particular zone, how high can that be built, how close to the road, how far away from the road. The Planning Commission looks at all those things carefully and gives the public one more chance to influence it before the city council has to look at it. And and then the planning commission makes a recommendation, the city council then makes its own independent judgment about whether to adopt the recommendation as it is, or to change it, or to reject it. So that's the intro.
I don't know what I did there, but I made a thing pop up. There we go. Okay. So for when you look at the schedule for this year, the idea was that we would start with some of these lingering codes. Nonconformance requirements play into the critical areas. Right now, our nonconformance code doesn't allow homes that have been damaged that are nonconforming to be rebuilt as they were. The whole site, if you had a fire, or if a tree came down on your home right now, the way it's written, you would have to actually rebuild your entire property in a compliant way. So we're working on that. And then the sign code, everyone may remember from last year, we got some new information about our sign code, so we're updating that. And then the small cells is actually a project from 2023 that got put on hold due to the comp plan and everything following the comp plan. So that's the first part of the year, and then we'd like to start our conversations in the spring regarding the downtown standards. I think the first thing we're thinking about is what outreach would look like. But that's actually a project that we'll be working on that doesn't have guidelines from the state, so it's a pretty open project. 2026, in July, then every year we're required to do comprehensive plan docketing. We haven't done that for a few years now, but if anybody wants to propose amendments and apply for an amendment, it's a lengthy process, but those are due by July 15th, or if the city has any changes. Other than the CFP can be updated as needed, the capital financial plan. Facilities plan, sorry. And then this summer, we'll start our climate element. I started reading the guidance for that. Commerce just recently put out their guidance for the climate element, and it looks like they're looking for ways for cities to become carbon neutral by 2050. So that gives us 25 years, that's a pretty big goal. That is due in summer of 2029, and we have some studies to do in the meanwhile, and a lot of outreach, of course. And then this fall, I'm sure that the downtown standards and the climate element will continue, obviously, for a long time. So those will stay on our work plan, and in the fall, we would anticipate any housekeeping as needed. That is what we proposed so far. Any questions or comments or conversation?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to, I guess, share for your information, Chair Gadzik. So obviously there's some, maybe not overlap is the right word, but work the Economic and Community Development Committee is doing. We can obviously work on something recommended out of committee to council and do a study session or that, but I'm hoping that our sort of that body and the planning commission are in communication with each other and aren't too disjointed. So actually what we figured out is that the committee is going to meet actually before planning commission meetings. It'll be on the fourth Wednesday of each month at either 4:30 or 5. And it was to make it not too onerous for our staff members in the community development department because they're already staying after for planning commission those days. So in the past, I had a planning commission liaison attend those meetings. I would love to do that again. I've had Commissioner Troutman and also Commissioner Van Natta attend at various points. I would love to continue that and keep it open and just sort of keep those lines of dialogue flowing, right? I know we're working on a project with the downtown signage, working on some other things too, so I think it would just behoove all of us to keep those sort of entities in communication and, they can bring good ideas to one another, hopefully, so.
Any other comments, questions? Well, I just want to say, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a comment. The downtown standards could cover a host of things. It could be as limited as making sure that the existing downtown plan complies with state law in terms of having objective standards. We took a small step toward that with the housekeeping amendments or rules we passed last year. But that's a very narrow look at the downtown plan. I don't know what the council's interest is in having it go beyond that, but I don't think it's the planning commission's role to go beyond that without direction from the council. So I'd just like you to think about that, and if you want us to explore something broader, to give us some direction.
Well, can you give us some examples of what broader things could be explored?
Well, let's say if you went from the narrowest to the broadest would be, what should Newcastle do if it wants to incent changes to the downtown and make something happen there? So in between are things that have already been discussed in the council that could promote better use of the downtown, like wayfinding signs, those kinds of things. So there's a broad range, and we don't necessarily have to jump from 0 miles per hour to 100 miles per hour, but if the council was interested in, so for example, exploring something more proactive with redeveloping the downtown, there is information that we would seek out that would help inform that conversation. There would be studies that we could do to find out what kind of economic development would really work down there. The last time we did that was maybe 8-9 years ago, and that was before we bought most of our stuff and had it delivered to us. So an economic analysis of what businesses would succeed down there and would be attracted to a redeveloped area, that would be something that would help us to know before we make any attempt to guide the redevelopment beyond what is already in the downtown plan.
Yeah, I mean, so personally, yeah, I think I would love to be more specific. I think improving walkability and bikeability downtown, I think that helps with economic development element, but also just general, engagement with downtown. So walkability, bikeability, and that economic development element. I think that I've seen a lot of cities of, that have less resources than Newcastle do a lot more than we have done downtown. Quite frankly, I think our downtown strategic plan has been just pretty much dormant, mostly since it was, created and done. So I think checking these sort of, checking it for our current times is great, but then also I'd love to see expanding on that, whether that's, I don't need to want to give you too much, like, telling you what to do, I guess, but what was it? I know we had, does it make sense to look at during COVID, when we allowed restaurants to sort of have additional seating outside, does it make sense to allow that again if we have extra parking space all the time or often? Maybe we don't always have extra parking space. I don't know what the answer is, right? Is that a conversation worth having? People might disagree with me. Is it worth looking at food trucks again and allowing those more than just an event basis? How can we, or is there overhead signage, right? Whenever we have an overhead sign for a city event, people love it, right? Could we have things that are more interesting for folks to engage with and all of that? Wayfinding signs we're going to work on as a committee, but just any elements to get people to stop here more and spend money here, because we are a very resource limited city, and anything we can do to increase the revenue helps us provide better services for people. So I don't think we've pulled that lever hard enough. I'd love to see how else we can pull that lever, whatever shape it takes, and that could be things I didn't mention and haven't even thought of.
If I can, I just want to think out loud, and maybe my thoughts aren't great, and so I'm happy to accept that. So I love that whole list is great. The way I look at it is those are great things for that council committee to take on, where I think it's worth the planning commission's time to look at policy matters, especially where it comes to downtown standards, I think that's a good place to go. But where it comes to like activating the downtown or activating the core, I think that's a good place for the council committee to go. When we're looking at how can we make the downtown strategic plan viable, I think that's a great thing for the planning commission to take on, or at least start to take on. And that the council committee can take on that more immediate activation part. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. Any other thoughts, Jen?
Thank you for your detailed presentation. And so I'm so glad to hear about redeveloping our downtown. And since you mentioned last time was said 8 years ago, so I'd like to know more about that. So I'd like to meet with you. Yeah, thank you.
So I guess to give a little bit more direction, I'm going to phrase it this way. Does anyone have any objections to the Planning Commission looking into, I heard how to make the downtown strategic plan more viable from the city manager. I heard maybe some economic studies that could help guide in general some of the work that the council committee is doing as well. It's kind of working together more. Anything else? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, perhaps this is a topic we could discuss in depth on our retreat. Give us some time to noodle it and then come back with a cohesive set of recommendations.
Yeah.
For the Planning Commission.
I think that's a great
coming
idea.
up
Yeah.
this month.
Yes, and we can always, we're actually meeting with, thank you for bringing up the retreats. We're, Deputy Mayor and the City Manager and I are meeting again with our facilitator on Monday to kind of, I think she's had an opportunity to speak to, or I hope she's had an opportunity to speak to the council. And so we'll kind of see what she's gathered from everyone and start to put together a real agenda. And I'm really hoping there'll be time for something like, that's planning commission specific. And so we're focused, and so maybe then we can let you all know when that ends up on the agenda, and then you all can, hopefully, at least some of you can come and be part of that conversation. So we'll just keep you updated on that. But I do think this is a good topic for having a discussion with the planning commission. So I'm not seeing any objections to all that. So is that good direction for you? Okay,
Yeah, great direction until more comes out of the retreat.
yes. Okay. Anything else? Well, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Director Fitzgibbons, but really thank you to the planning commissioners for volunteering your time and putting so much work, so much energy into these details. It saves a lot of time and energy for us, so I personally really, really appreciate all that you do, and thank you. So with that,
Just wanted to thank you for your time tonight, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
we'll just go ahead and take a little break before our regular meeting starts at 7. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie and Doug.
Thanks. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. And you have to do the numbers. Yeah.
Jane, do you want us to wait while you do that? Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'm calling this meeting to order at 7 p.m. It is February 3rd, 2026. My name is Mayor Ariana Sherlock. This meeting is being recorded. I do not believe we're live streaming right now, but it's being recorded and it will be put on the city's YouTube channel for future viewing. Will you please rise and join me in the flag salute? Okay, City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Burford. Councilmember Griffin.
Here.
Councilmember Villaseñor.
Here.
Councilmember Frost Blakely. Present. Councilmember Jacobs. Deputy Mayor Charbonneau.
Here.
And Mayor Sherlock.
Here.
All here.
Thank you. Okay, next up, sorry, I skipped a page. Agenda approval. Are there any requested changes or additions from council members? Deputy Mayor Charbonneau.
Yes, I would like to add an item. So I move adding as an agenda item for final approval, raising the 12th man flag at City Hall.
I second.
Great, it's been moved and seconded to add an agenda item to approve raising the 12th man flag at City Hall. What? Thank you, and it will become item 12.5. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, motion carries 7-0 to add that to our agenda. All right, is there any opposition to approving as amended? Seeing none, show that the agenda is approved as amended. All right, public comment. We'll now open the public comment period. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the council. When you come to the podium, thank you. Please state your name and neighborhood for the record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. City Clerk, is there anyone who signed up online? No. Okay, so we will go ahead in the order of the sign-up sheet. So I'm going to start with Mark Sherwood. And if you push the button, yeah.
Thank you. My name is Mark Sherwood. I live at 1328 Brooklyn Walk Northeast in Issaquah. I serve as the Executive Director of Communications for the Issaquah School District. And good evening, council members, mayor, deputy mayor, and city managers and staff. In addition to bringing greetings and thanking the Newcastle community for being part of our school district, I'm here to share facts about the upcoming renewal levies appearing on the February 10th, 2026 ballot. As requested by the community, these renewal levies keep the tax rate stable and focus on essential needs. As proposed, they do not request full levy authority as allowed by state law, are not new taxes, are not a bond or an attempt to rerun past bond measures, and does not fund new school construction. They are on the ballot because the state does not fully fund the basic educational needs of our students. If not renewed, they will expire by the end of 2026, and the cuts will be significant in terms of programming and staff, impacting every student and every classroom. As a reminder, there are 3 renewal levies on the February 10th ballot. Proposition 1, the Educational Programs and Operations, or called EP&O, is a 4-year renewal levy that supports student services in schools and represents 16.6% of the district's annual general fund, over $70 million per year, funding more than 405 staff positions, mental health counselors, nurses, substitutes, security officers, helps cover $9.5 million annually for underfunded special education and other opportunities as 7th period in high school and dual language programs. Proposition 2 is the capital renewal levy for technology and critical affairs This funds student devices, classroom technology, while also addressing urgent safety needs and prioritizing high-impact building repairs. Here, the state gap is much wider. They provide 0% technology and critical repairs. Proposition 3, transportation of the school bus levy, is a one-year levy that helps us operate our 170 diesel buses and 3 electric buses. It allows us to keep on a renewal replacement cycle and keep our buses safe. At the district, we are taxpayers, property owners, parents, and proud community members who value transparency and integrity. And like you, we take seriously our responsibility to be careful stewards of public dollars. We maintain one of the strongest credit and bond ratings among school districts in the state, keep administrative overhead among the lowest in neighboring districts. We align spending to student needs, budget conscious, and implement lean and efficiency measures to reduce waste. Our work is regularly reviewed by state auditors and guided by community oversight groups such as the Capital Projects Oversight Committee and the Financial Advisory Core Team. I encourage any of you to join these groups. As a reminder, vote February 10th and use a ballot drop box, as mail delays may prevent ballots from being postmarked by February 10th and counted. For more information, visit our website, and I want to thank all the council members in the community for this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Next on my list is Mary Vickers.
Hi, my name is Mary Vickers, and I live in the Olympus neighborhood. I'm going to echo a lot of what was just said. I'm a parent of the school district, and I'm also have been a substitute teacher in the school district for 3 years. I've been on PTSA boards for 6 years in the district. I also mentor 3 children in the district. And I've been working for the past 3 years as a substitute teacher. And so when I talk about the renewal levy that is on the ballot, I'm not just talking about in theory, I'm talking about what I actually see in the schools. And I'm seeing teachers that are exhausted, but they're still showing up. I'm seeing counselors that are supporting way too many students at once. I see support staff covering gaps wherever they can. And I see people doing everything possible with a very little margin. Our schools are not swimming in extra money, and they're barely keeping their heads above water. And that's why I want to be really clear about something that keeps coming up in conversations. And that is that, like he said, this is not a new tax. This is a renewal levy, and they continue funding that voters had already previously put in place. And they keep our schools functioning. And when I say functioning, it's very, very difficult to be in these schools sometimes. Even with levy funding, state support doesn't cover what it actually costs to run our schools. And without this renewal, real things will disappear. And that means we're talking about teachers, counselors, nurses, buses, technology, buildings, safety. These are not extras, these are essentials. I also know that some people are frustrated with the district because of past financial decisions. I'm one of them, and I get that. I live here too. And I've heard these conversations, and I do believe that accountability and transparency does matter. But I don't believe in making kids pay for those mistakes. Our students did not create these budgets, and they didn't make those decisions. They show up every day hoping that the grown-ups around them are going to have their back. Cutting basic funding does not fix past problems. It just creates new ones, and students are always the first to feel it. What I've seen over the last 3 years is a system that is stretched thin, held together by people who care deeply. And this levy helps keep that system from breaking. Strong schools don't just benefit families with kids, they benefit all of us. They protect property values, they attract businesses, they build a healthier and safer community. My hope is that this council will endorse this levy, because what you're doing is you're telling families.
I have to cut you off one real quickly. You can give factual information, but you cannot use public facilities to promote or oppose a ballot measure. So I would request you not make affirmative or negative statements about the ballot measure.
Okay. Anyway, so I'm asking that the council consider endorsing. And my opinion is that this is not politics. It's about our community, it's about our people, and it's about the future for our community and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Next on my list is Jesse First.
Hello, Council. This is my first town hall meeting that I have attended, but I wanted to be here today because sorry, I am very concerned about our safety in the neighborhood, and I actually appreciate you getting back to me on my email earlier. Currently, so my name is Jesse First. I live in the China Creek neighborhood, and a flock camera was just installed. One of the ALPR license plate readers was just installed down the hill from my house. And this is actually something that I've been, flock safety is something I've been paying attention to for quite some time now. And there has been, there's numerous safety issues with flock. While I know that I know that they say that our city is supposed to hold the data, Flock is actually the ones who hold the data on their servers. They can share any of our data with anyone that they want. In addition, like KCSO and no one else monitors any ALPR searches. These cameras are actually able to be hacked by anybody in about 30 seconds if you can literally just watch a YouTube video. ICE actually can access these cameras at any time, even without city approval. Even when contracts end with the cities, Flock can still use all of these data indefinitely. They can monitor, they can do more than just read license plates. They can actually they can see if your vehicle has any kind of identifying markings. For instance, if you even have a scratch on your vehicle, aftermarket parts, whatever it may be, they can detect like anybody's vehicle essentially without just being able to look at the license plates, which is much more than just being able to read license plates, obviously. These cameras have actually been used for things like there's actually been a sheriff who was monitoring their ex-wife and her new husband and tracking them. They had hundreds of searches in a matter of months. They're often used to track protesters. This is actually one of the biggest ones. And this data is also shared with they share with like the FBI and other major agencies. But yes, I just wanted to bring up that these are a big safety concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Last on my list is Stephen Vimes.
Hello, Council. My name is Stephen Vimes. I live in the Walker's Run condo complex just down the road. I'm here once again to talk about Newcastle's contract with Flock Safety. I want to strongly urge the Council to fully cancel their contract with them. I first want to thank the city for taking the time and effort to compiling a FAQ document about what a automatic license plate reader is and what the police can use it for. However, I would like to push back and say that I don't think it fully explains the system that Flock and other surveillance companies are selling. For example, while it may not be meant for real-time tracking, there is a 30-day retention period on every scan it takes. That may not seem like a long time on paper, but think about everywhere you've driven today. And now think about everywhere you've driven over the last 30 days. How many times have you commuted to work and back, dropped off your kids at school? Were they all around the same time of day? Did you follow the same route each time? That is the true power of this system. It compiles the data from every camera in the network and is able to see the patterns of our everyday lives, things that we don't even think about when we are in the moment. From that data, you can infer when someone will most likely be home, what route they will most likely take, and what time they will leave or arrive. This is why it's been so effective for federal agents over the past year. Just like with online data tracking, the recording of our actions is the product that Flock is selling. not the cameras itself. And they want as much information on us as they can get. In addition to your license plate scans, they have also shown interest in scraping your personal information, your social media accounts, your personal relationships, and even your credit card history. And while I understand the value our officers place in using this technology to investigate crimes, this data has been used and will be used for purposes outside of their control. We can no longer rely on just guardrails to prevent abuse by outside agencies, especially when the vendors, like Flock, have full control of the data storage and system architecture. Flock is given ample reason to be concerned about their motivations, including providing upgrades that turn a static image camera, like the ones that we pay for, into a video camera that is capable of tracking people, as well as updates to their online terms and services, which states, and I quote, "For clarity, customer data," that means us, "does not include the underlying raw footage, i.e. video, photos, and audio, captured by Flock hardware or any Flock IP. Flock does not feel the need to renegotiate with Newcastle or any other city when they wish to change the contract or the rules about the data collected, only to notify us that they have altered the terms." Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. I don't see anybody else on the list, so that concludes a public comment period. We have no ceremonial presentations tonight, so next up is council comments. Councilmember Burford, you want to start us off?
Good evening. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. And I like to share that I had a wonderful time with our Newcastle Youth Council. And I joined their meeting. They invited me at their meeting. I was really happy to see it was a great turnout. There were about 20 people. They are from Newcastle, Bellevue, even from Seattle. It's a quite energetic group. I like the energy and I like to see their activities. They ask me a lot of really, really meaningful questions about our city. And I look forward to just working with our youth in our community and want to see more from our newly, established Newcastle Youth Council. And also, I just want to share that Newcastle Arts Council right now, they are ready to showcase our local young artists in our community and the nearby cities. Newcastle, Bellevue, Renton, even including young artists from Bethel and even further area, I think Maple Valley. And so just gave a shout out, come to Newcastle Library and support our young artists. There will be People's Choice Award, and stay tuned. Visit our Newcastle Library and be part of the, judge and enjoy the art. Thank you. Also, go Hawks. Yes.
Councilmember Griffin?
Thank you, Mayor Sherlock. I want to welcome the people out there today. It's nice to have people here. In our council meeting of January the 20th, Councilmember Jacobs brought a motion to put the school levies of Bellevue and Issaquah on the meeting agenda for February the 3rd, 2026. City Attorney suggested we hold and think about this for a little while because it's something we're not supposed to do. Other council members wanted to know why, and finally the city attorney says there is a exception to the rule. And yes, there is, RCW 29B.45.010. And in the exception, it says that on your notice for the meeting, it's required that you put the title and numbers of the ballot propositions in your notice. Also, that would be well to have those in your agenda. So exceptions, we I think forgot to follow that. What we did is we went ahead and put the notice out, but we didn't have it noticed that those exceptions were there. It would seem to me like that when we do that, then it resorts back to the original motion and something that it's in violation for us to discuss. I'm not an attorney, but I also sent this to the mayor on the 26th of January. And on, I think, about the 30th, she wrote back and thanked me for it and said that she'd taken care of it. But it looks like that we didn't follow what the exceptions as we're required to do. So I would think that we shouldn't be discussing the 12.2 tonight. Thank you.
Councilmember Villasenor?
Good evening, everybody. This week I got a chance to join a group to meet with our state reps and senators in Olympia to reiterate some of our legislative priorities. Hopefully we'll see some positive outcomes from that. But what really struck me from my visit to the Capitol grounds is just watching people, from citizens, students, interns, journalists, lobbyists, and legislators, all interacting together, sharing their views and engaging in dialogue. And it just occurs to me that this is what I want from us: the willingness and security to share our views with the intention of creating a better community for all of us. Thank you.
Councilmember Frost Blakely?
Yes, hello. Good evening and welcome, everyone. First, I just want to give a little quick shout out to a Kelsey and Macy who I encountered walking up and down 116th a few weeks ago, picking up garbage, picking up trash, just on their own accord. I didn't get a last name from either one of them, but we so appreciated them helping to take care of our city. So thank you again to them. I did attend, it's been a busy week. I attended the Planning Commission meeting last week and the hearing that we had, or the open house actually, that occurred where they were discussing the critical areas update. And I appreciate the thoughtful approach that the Planning Commission took in working through the DNR regulations that have been coming down from the state, as balancing that against the needs of the citizens to be able to utilize their property. And then I too was pleased to be able to meet with our legislative representatives down in Olympia as well. It was, as you say, Commissioner Villasenor, very, very inspiring and a wonderful experience. And the opportunity to meet with Representatives Mylan Tai and Janice Zahn, as well as Senator Lisa Wellman, was a wonderful experience. And I hope that the comments and information I was able to provide and the rest of the people that from your city council that were able to attend is helpful to them. Thank you.
Councilmember Jacobs?
I guess I'm last this week, huh? Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for taking the time to be here and in person and online. I believe Newcastle works best when our residents are engaged, informed, and willing to share their thoughts. Collaboration and transparency are the bedrock to a better Newcastle. I also want to give a Newcastle shout out, as mentioned before, and thank you to the Asian Jewish Initiative for inviting me to their kickoff event yesterday. It was extremely inspiring, and we should take the time to do some of those type of events in the future in Newcastle. Again, I appreciate everyone for participating tonight, and I look forward to more discussions.
Deputy Mayor Charbonneau?
Thank you. Yeah, had a great time with, we had 5 of us up here go down to Olympia to lobby our legislators down there for our city legislative priorities. Our lobbyist, Shelley Helder, did a great job getting everything prepared and organized for us. I just want to thank my colleagues, because that's the largest group we've had in some time actually go down and lobby our legislators. For 11 years before I was on council, we didn't even have a state lobbyist, much less in the past years ago and sending, maybe 1 or 2 people down. So big kudos to this group. It was really meaningful to them, and I think will make a big difference in kind of us seeing support from them going forward. Happy Black History Month. I always encourage folks to go to blackpast.org, which is the work of the late Professor Quintard Taylor at the University of Washington, Professor of Black History. There were African Americans mining coal in Newcastle as early as 1890. A lot of folks don't know that. And I would just flag for my colleagues, I'd love to, looking forward this year, look at doing a Juneteenth proclamation. We already have that day away from work for city staff. I'd love to look forward to a proclamation for that down the line as well, to honor our Black history. And then I just had a really great meeting earlier tonight, actually, with the King County Sheriff's Office, with our Chief Mandela and 2 members from the Therapeutic Response Unit, Susie Kroll and Casey Byrne, talking a lot of great about how we can get better crisis response and get sort of mental health professionals working with our officers in Newcastle. There's a lot of great things to talk about there that I'll be bringing back, hopefully, whether it's a study session or retreat item, or engaging with the community and kind of teaching them what those services are and how they can leverage them. So I'm excited for that. And then big welcome to Deputy Tabert, who I played high school football with at Hazen High School, who just joined our police force, which I think if we count him, myself, and then Connor Simonson and Tyler Reese in the Public Works Department, we're up to 4 Hazen alums working at the City of Newcastle, which I think is awesome. So thank you.
Yes, welcome, Deputy. Thank you also for Mayor's report. I'll just reiterate, we had a great trip down to Olympia yesterday, and I really enjoyed, I think we all could feel how well represented we are with our lobbyist, Shelley Helder, but it was really cool to see everyone that we interacted with. They were like, oh, Shelley's your lobbyist? You're in good hands. So that was, she does a really good job of that relationship building, and is very smart and keeps us all well informed. Just an update that I participated in the North Mayor's meeting earlier today, so I'm excited for that group, have the opportunity to work with that group over the next couple years. I'm going to be meeting with Councilmember Reagan Dunn, King County Councilmember Reagan Dunn, later this week. I hope to inquire about the grant opportunities that former Mayor Clark spoke to at the end of the last year, so I'll report back on that. And please let me know if you have any other questions for him. And then I also just want to, I'll say go Hawks for sure, but I also wanted to take this opportunity to plug the Hazen Play that they did 3 performances last weekend, and there's 3 more this week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. You can buy tickets at the box office. I believe they're $8 or $10. It's a really fun play. It's called 13 Past Midnight. It's kind of a murder mystery, and all the students just do a wonderful job. There's some comic relief, so there's a lot of timing involved. So if you do go, please laugh loudly, gasp when it's appropriate, and help the kids have a good time with their performance. Okay.
A few more, a little bit. Yeah.
Let's move on. So next up is a presentation from United Hub regarding EV charging stations. So City Manager Pingle, I believe we have a representative. Oh yes, hello.
So I'd like to introduce Thomas Boydell with United Hub, and I'll let him introduce United Hub in general, as well as the project that we are asking the council to consider. To be clear, this is presentation only time and time for the council to ask questions. We're not asking for any council action at this point. We'll bring that back to the council at a future meeting. I do want to just recognize this potential partnership really started because Councilmember Burford kind of brought it to our attention and introduced the city and United Hub. So just want to recognize her for that. We have regularly heard from various city council members and you know, throughout different council as it might be composed, that there's a desire to see EV charging stations in the city. And so when this potential partnership came to be, we wanted to jump on it. And so I'll let Thomas introduce himself more and United Hub and turn it over to him.
Thank you very much. That's a little bit better. I'm not as experienced with making these presentations, so forgive me for stumbling through the technology a little bit. As Mr. Pingle indicated, my name is Tom, and I'm with an organization named United Hub. United Hub is a 501c3. It's a community-serving organization established in 2023 by local business people to do projects that provide services to the underserved community. The United Hub has had quite a bit of success in 3 years doing home heating assistance projects, community education, translation services, and also electric vehicle charging station projects. For example, we just did a ribbon cutting last week in downtown Everett, where we installed 30 EV chargers to support the residential community. What we're able to do is do a good job of vetting resources and service providers, packaging projects for the community, and raising grant funds to help bring additional resources to the community. We're aware that in Newcastle, there is a lack of EV charging stations available to the public. And so this is something that became apparent when we took a look at the Newcastle community and discussed it with the state of Washington and Puget Sound Energy. We were introduced to the city manager. He invited us to come up with ideas for how we might be able to benefit the local community. And so I am here tonight to describe two proposals, and I thank the council for this time. In my presentation, I'm going to provide an overview of the sources of funding, the proposed installations. I will show you site diagrams for our proposals, describe the equipment, the budget, operating plans and conditions, terms of our agreement to implement this project, and hopefully provide sufficient time and try to answer any questions that you have. We've got, as I mentioned, two proposals to make to you, two locations for the installation of EV chargers. The AC L2 chargers we are proposing for the City Hall site, and fast chargers for Lake Bourne Park. The key impacts include community amenity, support for accessibility at these public facilities, and energy infrastructure to help respond to environmental needs and also the changing character of the economy. The proposed timelines are to do the L2s at City Hall in 2026 and the Lake Bourne Park project in 2027. This is funded primarily by the Washington State Department of Commerce, and with contribution to installation costs provided by Puget Sound Energy. The total budget resources that we are bringing for these two projects is approximately $870,000. The equipment includes 4 10-kilowatt L2 charging ports and 3 dual-port 100-kilowatt charging stations, including pedestals, connected facilities, new transformers, switchgear, and metering. Would like to acknowledge the funding sources. Washington State Department of Commerce is providing funding under the Climate Commitment Act. Private entities are not eligible to apply. That is why it is important to partner, either apply directly as a local government or to apply through a nonprofit like United Hub. The funding categories: multifamily, residential, public charging, innovation projects, site design projects, and fleet workplace. United Hub is doing projects in 3 of these categories: multifamily, residential, public charging, and innovation projects. The 2 proposals in Newcastle are in the category of public charging. The funding from Puget Sound Energy is offered through their Up and Go Electric program, and I'll provide a little bit more information about that and the amount of funding as we get a little bit deeper into the presentation. Project number 1, Newcastle City Hall parking area. Again, as I've mentioned, the proposal is for 4 L2 EV chargers, 4 ports. They will be 2 dual port pedestals, and the projected timeline is to complete this project before September 2026. The timeline is still to be developed in coordination with the city. I can give you, we can go on the next slide. I can give you a little bit more background on this, that we at first went through some exploration of whether this could be partnered off of a proposed generator project at City Hall. We didn't want to cut up the pavement twice, wanted to be able to leverage the investment you were making. At this time, we've been asked to go forward with the EV charging project without respect to that generator project. So we have, as I'll indicate here, instead of using an alignment around the perimeter of the project here, we're looking at to install the chargers now here and looking for a more direct route to make the connection to your electrical room. We have a couple of different possibilities how we will make that connection. One is still going through the garage and cutting across the landscaping area. The other one, the shorter route, would be making trenching in the asphalt area and trying to go more directly into the electrical room. At this time, we have to do a little bit more exploration of what is going to be the most feasible solution. We are looking for the least costly and least disruptive way of doing this installation. And so we have a site visit with our engineer planned for next week and your Public Works Director in order to figure out those details. I mentioned that because I will also move on to the next slide. Because I want to also describe what that means in terms of the budget for this project. A picture is worth 1,000 words, so I'm providing you with a picture and specifications of the equipment. This is what the charging stations will look like. So there'll be 2 of these that we propose to locate in your City Hall parking lot. Again, these are L2 chargers, so they're not going to be super fast chargers, but they will provide a good benefit not only for visitors to City Hall, but also those who are tenants in the building or employees at City Hall, anybody who's here for longer meetings, those types of things. I won't go over the details of those specifications now, but I'll be happy to answer any questions about the equipment specifications. Next slide, please. This is a summary description of the equipment and services. In addition to the charging stations themselves, we are providing the wire conduit to electrical panels, new panel if necessary, new metering, EV signage, platforms, vaults, bollards, stripes, and marking for EV chargers, any trenching, landscaping, or asphalt repair that might be needed, and testing and activation of equipment, as well as the full operation of these chargers at City Hall for a 4-year period of time with the maintenance warranties and activation and cloud services for 4 years, all prepaid. Next slide, please. This is a glance at the full budget as we know it today. It is, we estimate a $47,000 project at City Hall. Sources of funds is we have nearly $30,000 committed by the Washington State Department of Commerce. We've requested $16,000 from Puget Sound Energy. And then about $2,000 we are, about $1,000, $2,000 here, yes, is amount that we are financing with, as an agreement with the equipment vendor as a percentage share of revenues going forward. What I would mention here is we don't have a commitment yet from Puget Sound Energy. We expect at least 8,000, but we're not. But we've requested 16,000, and that is being given good consideration right now. And we don't know if we need additional contingency depending on how we're going to do the installation. For that reason, it is possible that we may come back to the city with our full proposal, where we might be asking the city to contribute an amount of money between $2,000 and $10,000. We're going to do our best to try to make it work so that we don't have to ask you for any money, but we don't have a definite answer on that today, and I just wanted to present that to you. And again, the reason is we had originally budget this at no cost to the city, piggybacking off of the generator project. But now that we have to rethink the project, I just wanted to tell you that that is still in development. Project number 2, this one will be very interesting to you, I think. At Lake Bourne Park, we were excited that you're planning improvements to the park, and also it's just a wonderful facility out there. It's sometimes daunting to think about installing EV chargers in a public park because of where you have to make a connection and how you install the transformer. But we partnered with Puget Sound Energy and came up with a good solution. Originally, we were thinking about as many as 12 ports in this facility, but we decided to right-size this with 3 dual-port fast charging stations at 120 kilowatts per station. This exceeds the state of Washington Department of Commerce standard of 100 kilowatts per station. So we're happy we were able to fit that in. The projected timeline for this is to complete the project in the first half of 2027. The timeline is more driven by the lead time it requires for Puget Sound Energy to provide a transformer and for them to do the installation work on a transformer. It also works very well for us, however, because we made a request to Puget Sound Energy to fit us into a rate policy that would be more supportive of the operational feasibility of chargers at this site. And they've agreed to put us under a different rate policy that will come online in May of 2027. So the timing of this could match up very well for us. Next one, please. Here's a site diagram of the Lake Bourne Park property. The photographs in the upper right show the parking area where we would install the chargers. The diagram below that shows the east side of that lower parking area, and you see 6 stalls identified there. One of those stalls will be ADA. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention with City Hall, where we're going to locate the chargers, we want to have one of the charging ports be for an already identified ADA stall, so that will be better for the public. As you see here, we can do a straight line for our conduit. We can install the chargers here and run a straight line south here. The line would be trenched through this group of trees. The transformer would be just above the trees, and then we would connect down to a spot here where Puget Sound Energy has done a locate for their existing power line, and they would do a J-connect cut-in. This is zooming out. This shows you that area at a little bit higher level glance. Next slide, please. This is what the equipment looks like for the fast charging stations. Again, this and the next page will show you equipment specifications, but let me also just point out that there are screens on these. These screens are for user interface. They are not meant for advertising. However, they can be programmed to announce events that are taking place in the park. United Hub is not interested in making profit off of these chargers. What we're doing is trying to bring this to the community, operate them at a break-even level that will require user fees in order to be able to do that. However, we intend to operate them at a break-even level and provide for the cost of the electricity and for maintenance to preserve a 97% uptime on these chargers. Next slide, please. This is more detail on the specifications. Again, I'd be happy to answer any additional questions about the specifications. Just I'll point out a couple of things. These are meet OCCP standards, they meet ULI standards, and also, although they don't, they're also compliant with the standards of NTEP. Next, please. This is a summary, again, of equipment and services similar to the other project at City Hall. It's not just the equipment that's being paid for, it's also the installation and the services. Instead of 4 years, these will be, our commitment is to operate these for 6 years. Next slide for the budget, please. Forgive me. The funding sources for this are more substantial than for the City Hall project. We've been able to secure $500,000 in funding from the State Department of Commerce. That is committed funds. We've also been able to secure a commitment from Puget Sound Energy for $250,000. The financing agreement that United Hub has with the equivalent vendor in this case is worth $45,000. And then the other way that we're plugging in the gap on this project is the city has offered through their Public Works Department to do trenching in the park. We think that that's not any additional resources on the part of the city. It's just using already available staff resources and budget to do that. Carrie Sullivan estimates it's about 3 or 4 days maximum amount of work, and so very doable within your existing resources. But the value to this project is it saves us about $25,000, $25,000 to $30,000 of money that we would otherwise have to spend to hire a private sector contract to do that same work. I also like doing it this way because I find in my experience in government that when you're going through a public park, you also want to be careful to manage the quality of the work that you're doing as you do that trenching. And so there's a lot more confidence in having your existing city staff do that work versus an outside contractor for that very purpose. Again, under the costs, identifying that it's equipment, services, installation, $128,000 is what we estimate as the cost of what we would pay Puget Sound Energy. This is an estimate from Puget Sound Energy. It is on the high side. It includes a contingency. They are now reviewing that. We expect that amount to come down. You'll see right now the total costs are $841,000. The total funding is $820,000. However, when we see a drop in the Puget Sound Energy estimates, we expect to close that gap to zero. If there is anything additional that is any cost over the amount of funding. United Hub has some other options where we can absorb that cost difference. We will not come back to the city of Newcastle and ask for any additional resources. We feel that your offer already of doing the work on the trenching is very generous and very much something we feel grateful for. Next slide. The things for you to consider in your decision making is we have proposed a license agreement that will require city approval and signature. The city manager and the city attorney are working with us on that right now. The term of this that we propose is that United Hub owns and operates the assets for the 4 to 6 year period of time. That's 4 to 6 years after installation. At the end of that term, there would be a full transfer of assets to the ownership of the city of Newcastle and any revenue from those chargers. And we would provide you with a removal option if for any reason you decided not to continue with the chargers. There will also be options for you to do software upgrades and negotiate longer-term service agreements with the vendors. The revenues will be collected through our service provider, given to United Hub. United Hub will work with the city to identify what the costs of electricity are so that we provide that funding to the city for payment of the electric bill. The United Hub is also paying for insurance and will be providing ongoing project management, including grant reporting, insurance premiums, as I mentioned, and taking care of the equipment financing costs. We propose that if we will operate these pretty much at a break-even level, but if there are any net revenues, if there's greater utilization than we forecast, or we're able to earn push up any of the user fees or earn additional revenue, that we will place those additional funds in a maintenance reserve fund in case we have any problems that come up. In terms of insurance, our proposal to the city is that United Hub, as owner of the equipment, will pay for the insurance premiums, but we ask the city to help us with the deductible if there are any claims. We do have a good agreement with an insurance provider, however, where we're able to reduce the deductible down to only $1,000 per claim, which is a really great benefit when you're talking about the value of the equipment and the size of the insurance coverage. The user fee structure is to be determined, but this is an example structure here where you generally charge a connection fee, then a per kilowatt hour fee, and then an idling fee that might be small but encourage people to disengage and not create queuing problems with other people waiting to use the chargers. Next slide, please. And please forgive me if I'm going too fast, and I'm happy to talk about these, answer any of your questions and talk about these in more detail if you like. These conditions follow are the requirements provided by the funding sources, that we provide hardware warranty, software warranty, installation services warranty, cloud services plan, quarterly inspections, that we meet a 97% uptime standard, which is greater than what private providers tend to provide. And we have a 3-tier response plan to monitoring any downtime or problems with the chargers and making corrections. We do pricing and revenue management. With the 3-tier downtime monitoring and response plan, I can describe that a little bit to you. The first tier is we are doing continual diagnosis and monitoring remotely. And sometimes we can send through a software solution or a reset. At the second tier, we're making a site visit because maybe there's something going on with the equipment, or we need to access the warranty on the equipment. At the third tier, that's when there might be vandalism or theft or accidental damage, and that's when we are activating the insurance or making a quick fix. Our standard required by the state of Washington is to make repairs within 48 hours. If there is a lead time on ordering replacement equipment, then we wait for the equipment to arrive, and then we have 48 hours to do the installation. So everything's quite responsive and quick. We want to maintain that 97% uptime standard. We are motivated to meet that standard and have a good system in place to do that, because our contract under the grant with the Washington State Department of Commerce includes penalties, financial penalties to United Hub if we do not meet that standard. The types of things we ask for from the city of Newcastle is occasionally to put eyes on the chargers. If any staff are out there, see a problem, please let us know right away. And to periodically wipe down the faces of the chargers, those screens. That can be done, for example, on a monthly basis or whenever you have staff available. Those are just some minor things that help make sure that the chargers are in good functioning condition for use by the public. And that's the end of my presentation. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. I hope that that is a good level of information for you, however, as an introduction. And I again want to thank the council for this time, and I want to thank the city leadership and city staff for inviting us to come and make this proposal. We are very excited about proposing to do projects to benefit the local community here in Newcastle. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions, Councilmember Jacobs?
Do we know what percentage of residents own electric vehicles?
I don't think we have that information. I don't even know if we can get that information.
So I'm just asking based on what's the reasoning behind putting the chargers in if we don't know how many residents actually would use the facilities?
We do know that this is a growing percentage nationwide. Every year it grows a little bit more. We also know that in the Puget Sound area that electric vehicles are very popular and that more and more people are asking for charging stations. That is why the state of Washington and the utility have stepped forward with these programs and are providing such a substantial amount of money. When I looked, I did not have information about the number of residents with chargers. However, we have been given information that it is people at different income levels, not just wealthier people who have electrical vehicles these days. Also, the closest charging stations are up in Bellevue Eastgate area or down in Renton, not within the city of Newcastle almost at all. We do understand that there are a couple of L2 charging stations that are at one local apartment complex, but they are not newer ones, and they don't, from what we understand anecdotally, they don't get a lot of use. Whereas if you place these type of charging stations in a facility like City Hall and Lake Bourne Park that is central to the community and gets a lot of use by the public, it will not only support events at those facilities, but it's something that is likely to be well used by the public.
Councilmember Frost Blakely?
Yes, I'm excited to see this project come forward. When I was serving on the Planning Commission many years ago, we did discuss adding EV chargers as part of our comp plan. And I don't, is it in the comp plan, Director Gibbons?
I believe it is.
In
and
the
we do
downtown
have
core area.
ordinances. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have had no movement since then. It, probably at 10 years, nothing's happened. So it'd be great to see it, to have these, this available
These
here in
projects
Newcastle.
can be expensive, and there are difficulties with doing the installation. We did quite a bit of vetting of different vendors and quite a bit of thought about the installation plan in order to solve problems. I'm not describing all those problems to you here tonight, but suffice it to say that these projects are not easy to do.
Yes, I can understand that. Hence the delay. Two quick questions. Since I do not have an electric vehicle, what is the approximate time to charge? I mean, how long are these spots going to be taken up on average? And then the average cost for them to charge? Because it looks like you have a parking fee and then they're charged per hour and so on. So I would just love a general idea or range.
It's not a charge per hour, it's a charge per electricity that is used. So if you have an electric vehicle and you need to charge up 40 kilowatts or 60 kilowatts, it'll be based on the amount of power that you use. For L2 chargers, if it's a 10 kilowatt charger, just think in terms that maybe it's about 10 kilowatts per hour that is added to it. So you're going to, if you want to charge up fully at City Hall, you would plug in for a longer period of time. Like if you're an employee, you plug in the morning, maybe disconnect in the afternoon. However, a lot of people who access L2 chargers are just looking for a quick boost. So they might charge while they're here for an hour, and that just gives them a little bit extra. They know that they brought their battery up from 40 to 50 kilowatts or from 20 to 30, something like that. Generally, if they have like an 80 kilowatt battery, they don't want to let it get all the way down to zero. They'll take it down to 20, 25, or 30 before they add power back to their battery. And maybe they don't even want to top off at 80, they'll top off at 60, because if you stop at about 80%, it has a tendency to extend the life of the battery in your vehicle. The fast chargers also, you don't want to overuse them because it could, over the long term, reduce the life of the battery in your vehicle. But the newer ones have less of that type of a danger. The fast chargers, what's wonderful about them is that they are fast. You can do a full charge, 60, 70 kilowatts, in about 30 to 40 minutes while you're at Lake Bourne Park, attending an event, just walking the dog, hanging out and playing with your children, and you're all charged up and you're good for another 3, 4, 5 days.
Councilmember Villasenor?
Thank you.
May I add one thing? I'm sorry.
You bet.
I forgot to answer one part of your question. Yeah, so a charging session could be $20, $30, $35. It is, tends to be 1/3 to 1/2 the cost of filling up your car with gas.
I was a little bit interested in what happens after that 4 to 6 year period in terms of the role that United Hub plays. At that point, do we take ownership of the equipment and then United Hub's all finished with it, and you're out of the picture, or is there a transition, or do we continue? Do we renew a contract? What happens after that period?
As a condition of the grant from the state of Washington, we are required as the grant recipient to ensure that uptime for that 4 to 6 year period of time. So that's why United Hub stays in the picture. United Hub will own and operate the assets, have the license agreement with the city, provide all those services, and prepay for the maintenance and cloud services through the grant money at the front end. At the end of that time period, let's say 6 years at Lake Bourne Park, if the city would like United Hub to continue to play a role, then we can negotiate that. We can talk about that at the time. However, we are going to prepackage everything to be able to hand off to you. Not just the equipment, but a maintenance plan, service agreement, you can also renegotiate that with a vendor or find a different vendor at that time. The protocols on these machines allow you to find a different service provider. It's an open protocol. So we will help you make that transition at the time. We will also, as a fail-safe, we are providing a removal option for you. And for L2 chargers, that's simple instructions of how you can remove them yourself. For the fast chargers, we might, through the vendor, not any markup on the part of United Hub, but there might be a charge by the vendor to hire a truck to haul them away, if that's what you want at that time. But the asset we propose that the asset will come into your ownership, and that we will be able to remove some of the overhead at that time, so that there's also maybe some positive revenue to come to the city. What we are hoping to do is build up the utilization of these chargers over time. So generally, it takes people a while to get used to the charger location. For example, there's a couple of chargers at the city of Marysville that I have some experience with, and they were installed. They got very little use for the first couple of years, but it's gradually increased. Now they're being used all the time. And so over a 4 to 6 year period of time, we would expect people to get used to them and start building to the point where people know their location. They are able to find that through an app on their phone also, and they'll be coming to the site. They'll be used to it. It'll become a habit. They'll start using it more frequently. And as that utilization increases, then also the revenue potential increases.
Yeah, I think we'll have a pretty good idea of the utilization after 4 to 6 years, right? And so on the a couple of slides back, you have so the things that United Hub provides, hardware warranty, software warranty, those things would go away after that 4 to 6 years if we didn't renegotiate these things, correct?
Yes, but you wouldn't need to do that through United Hub. We will set you up so you can do that directly with the vendor, without our project management being part of it, because you won't have to do grant reporting anymore. And you won't need us to manage the project. It'll be reach a stage of maturity where we'll try to make the handoff easy for you, and by reducing some of that overhead, it also increases the positive revenue potential to the city. And hopefully, by that time, we've also identified and done some solutions to any problems that arose, so that it's a more smooth handoff for you.
Okay. One more question, and not a question for you specifically, but I'm not sure the park location enables the maximum bang for our buck in terms of commercial, what would I want to say, like just, commercial activity, right? Where people would, using the park is great, but I would probably like them to use the stores and restaurants more. I know that it's not too much of a problem to park here and walk across, but if we're going to do an installation like this, I'm not sure if we've thought about where else they could go that might better support, our commercial activity.
I would mention that it's part of it are the conditions of the grant funds. They look for underserved areas in between. And so there are private sector entities who will probably be willing to install chargers maybe, like they do the larger kiosk, but still L2 chargers at a lot of Safeway stores around the region. These particular grants are meant to be community serving rather than business serving. And so that's part of why
I think my point of view is that they might be both, right? I mean, and so I'm just wondering if we could put our heads together a little bit, maybe, and if we can find a better place, great. If not, I think the park is a fine place to put them.
Well, and part of looking at the park and City Hall is because the funds that we're using are the public charging funds, or those that wouldn't be eligible at a business site or on a private site. So we were looking at public space where we have a parking lot where we could install.
And this may be, I'm sorry if it's maybe a little bit late in the process, but we made our proposals to the Department of Commerce and Puget Sound Energy based on specific addresses. And so the commitments have already been made based on those addresses, and it might be very disruptive or jeopardize the funding at this point for us to ask them to rethink that.
Deputy Mayor Charbonneau?
Thank you. And yeah, that was, Councilmember Villasenor, that was the point I also brought up, is like them being an economic driver. These are places where we own that land and the other places are not, so that complicates it. What it was, sort of, I had a discussion with the city manager about, like, if they are being heavily utilized, it doesn't preclude us at all from looking at, you know, something at one or both of our shopping centers down the line, and potentially looking at that. Thank you a ton, Mr. Boyd. I'm really excited to vote to support this, and when we look at this in the future, I know myself and also the mayor are actually owners of electric vehicles. So the big question I had was, and you spoke to it a little bit, is I know a lot of electric vehicles have in their sort of computer or software, they will indicate to you where, you know, you can hit like charging station near me, or like indicate to you where charging stations are. Do we need to, will these chargers be included on that sort of network? I know it's probably different per manufacturer, but is there anything we would need to do to get them listed there? Because I think it can be a good economic driver.
No, that's one of the things that we already have in consideration in our planning. We just cannot require that somebody out in the public belong by membership to a certain app or company to do the charging. We also need to make it available to people just to be able to walk up and do a one-off charging on their own. So we're going to try and use those various channels.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'll just flag for folks, I think if you've never walked around in the Newcastle Commons, and specifically the townhomes in the back part of the Commons, they're almost all electric vehicles. Talking with those residents, they go to Factoria, they go to Bellevue. They do not have that sort of space in Newcastle, and it was, that development was built right at that time where it was, they were interested, but then there was no infrastructure also built in for electric vehicle charging in those sort of townhomes in that area. So I think it would be very much, I strongly believe these would be really heavily utilized. So thank you again for all this really, really like well thought out and
thank you. And I'd add that United Hub wants to be a good partner to the city of Newcastle. So even without grant funds or a paid-for role by with United Hub, if you have other projects you're trying to pursue and you just want a sounding board for advice about the technical aspects of the projects or the pros and cons of different vendors, we're always here for you.
Councilmember Burford?
Yeah, so nice to see you, Tom, and thank you. I'm so excited about this project, and really this is a partnership and collaboration. And since I think our initial meeting at City Hall, also with our manager Pingo, it's been almost a year. We started last March, so I still have your initial email and our conversation. Because really, when we determine the locations, really like Safeway and QFC, their stores, we also like, Deputy Mayor Charbonneau also mentioned they did consider those factors. And also, they're reliable, they're great people, and I very much look forward to this project to become reality. And I hope, the fellow council members support this project because it brings people to Newcastle. Other than Newcastle, just somewhere drive by. So they come to Lake Bryan Park. We have a lot of community events, people from all over. So they come, they can also get their cars charged, and there will be potential revenues for our community, for our city. And so let's do it. Thank you.
I just had a
to go back to some logistical questions, to go back, you touched on it, so I just wanted to make sure I heard you clearly. So for payment options, you don't have to be, there's not like you don't have to be part of a membership or have an account.
Right, you'll be able to approach the charger with your phone and scan a QR code, for example.
Okay, and so you'll be able to use a credit card and just whatever you have?
I don't know
or-
if we'll do tap to pay, but we do plan to have the QR code. So if you've got but we're looking into also just doing tap to pay.
Okay, because I think, yeah, having more options might be, I would be more interested in having, I don't know how many people always have their credit card information on their phone. So just want to make sure that everyone would be able to use it easily, would be my only concern.
We'll work on those details.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Any other comments or questions? Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And answering all of our questions. You said you haven't done this much, but I would say you're a pro.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Are there any council committee reports? Did Finance Committee meet?
We did meet, and I'm happy to report that the city is in good financial stead. Yes. Any comments from the Finance Committee?
Thank you. Any other council committees?
Economic Community Development Committee will meet on February 25th. It'll either be at 4:30 or 5 p.m. I'll make sure it's noticed on the website and other places. Anyone from community is welcome to attend. And we will be meeting that same slot the fourth Wednesday of each month going forward. So, thank you.
Okay. I think that's all for now. Are there any regional committee reports?
Okay, I just want to share that with, protecting salmon, the council, we are going to be in Olympia tomorrow and meeting with several legislators and advocating for eco-friendly environment, protecting salmon and related projects. It will be a whole day event. We need to be there, arrive there at 7:30 until after 4 tomorrow. It will be a whole day. I will share after the interaction. Also, I just want to say what a wonderful day. It's been, I think, my second year going to Olympia. It's really for Newcastle Hill Day. And this time I feel so proud. And 5 of us. So we get to really talk about our city's priorities. And last time I was there with our mayor, Sherlock. And really such a great team. We are in good hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other regional committees? Okay. For our commission reports, the CAC put a memo in the packet for y'all to view. And now we'll hear from our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. Just a couple of things. For the T11 project, which is our overlay that we do every other year, you've seen in the Friday updates for a couple of weeks now where our overlay, for the next overlay, the engineering estimate came in super high. We've been able to dial in assumptions to bring that down, but we budgeted 2.1 million for it. The engineer's estimate is still about 2.5. We did just learn from PSRC that with their year end, they have additional funds available that we can apply for. And so we'll go after those so that we don't have to reduce the project. We can get additional grant funding for the remaining amount. And so we'll continue to keep the council updated on where we go with that. One of the main requirements for that additional funding is that we have to show that we have funding even if we don't get the grant, and we have strong REIT fund balance, and so we can show that possibility. But we'll go after that additional funding so that we don't have to take anything away from that project, but we'll fund the overage with additional grant funding. I do want to just announce, the council is aware, Aegis Gardens was not available for the retreat, so we're booked currently in the community meeting room at the YMCA. And so that's the plan for the City Council retreat on February 27th. I did want to also just mention the Finance Committee did approve the contract for the Community Satisfaction Survey. And so that will get rolling here over the next month or so. The Finance Committee talked about the questions and the possibility of tweaking or adding questions. And so before we get the opportunity to give the final go ahead on questions for the Community Satisfaction Survey, and we can definitely take that extra step of sending that out and getting any feedback from you for questions. If we wanted to add something that is pertinent to what's going on currently, we could do that. That's all I got.
Thank you. Any questions for the city manager? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. So these items are considered routine and are approved with one motion unless a council member requests that an item be removed for separate discussion. Are there any items council would like removed from the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, the consent agenda is approved as presented. So we have no public hearings, no unfinished business, so we are on to general business. So we'll start with item 12.1, discussion and consideration of temporary moratorium on automated license plate readers, or ALPRs, in city-owned public spaces and right-of-way. We have our chief of police, Chief Mandela, here tonight. Thank you for being here. City Manager Pinkel, did you want to give a little overview and history?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. I'll just kind of review what we put in the agenda bill, just for some brief background. So the City of Newcastle currently participates in an automated license plate reader program, and we have a contract with Flock Safety. The program was adopted in February 2004, following a public presentation to the City Council and the recommendation from KCSO, from King County Sheriff's Office, I'm sorry. The city owns the ALPR program and the contract, and the King County Sheriff's Office operates the system on the city's behalf. In December 2025, the city paused its use of ALPRs, or our Flock cameras, due to public records and legal risks associated with ALPRs. And in recent months, the city's received increased community feedback expressing concern, and so that's why we're here tonight. And so with that, I will turn it back over to the City Council.
Yeah, so I requested this discussion, and Chief Mandela and City Manager Pingle agreed that it's good to have this discussion in public and talk through a lot of concerns we've been hearing from the public and having ourselves. And so I'd like to just open it up to council member thoughts, questions for the chief. I believe we also have a Flock representative on Zoom, is that correct?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Good evening, council. Thank you for hanging on and and giving me the opportunity to try to explain the law enforcement and public safety purpose and function that Flock Safety does serve. I am supported this evening with Lily Ho, and she is from Flock Safety. She's joining us virtually as she's down in California, I believe, and she can help to answer perhaps some specific questions concerning data security and how Flock handles those things. I can answer some questions perhaps about the King County Sheriff's Office standard operating procedure and some of the parameters under which we operate the system safely here in Newcastle. Also with me, if you have questions about how the system has positively benefited any criminal investigations in the city, Detective CJ Ford, and we're also joined by King County Sheriff's crime analyst, Gloria Lara, who also accesses the system to help make some links to other crimes, both locally and regionally.
I just also want to say for the record, in our packet, which is available online, there's also some information and frequently asked questions document included. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but that is available to the public as well, and I'm sure we'll be referencing that in this discussion. Anyone?
I'm sorry, I was just going to say real quickly that I do know that Lily Ho from Flock Safety does have a brief presentation, if she were able to perhaps kind of give the, I think, the legwork or the framework of data security and proactive preventative steps that Flock Safety has taken to try to prevent some of the valid concerns that are raised by the council and your constituents, as well as Detective Ford also has a very, very brief presentation specifically about how Flock Safety benefited him in a crime that went from 0 leads to very effective leads through use of the system. At this time, open for questions, I suppose.
Would the council like to see presentations or start with questions?
I'd like the presentation first.
Okay, yeah, why don't we go ahead and start with your presentations?
Lily, can you hear us? Lily? And did Detective Ford just go to get his laptop? I'm sorry? Oh. I apologize, I'm
That's okay.
not super technical and I wish. Lily, can you hear? I wish I had something to say to
That's
fill the
all right.
dead space here.
Any council members want to start off with any questions? Councilmember Vilsander.
Sure. Thank you for coming out tonight. I don't think there's any question in my mind that the Flock camera system provides an excellent resource for law enforcement. I don't think that is my concern. I've read the document that came from King County Sheriff's Office with regard to the use of ALPRs. I think it's well thought out, but it still remains that we as a city don't have the ability to properly address public records requests. And I think that was the initial risk that was posed to us at the time we decided to pause the program. And I don't think that's been remedied. I know that there's some action at the state level to fix that, but from my perspective, I don't think we can have an additional conversation about this technology until that is addressed. And that's because it just puts the city in a difficult position for risk. So, my vote is to pause it. Technology has this way of outpacing policy. I think that this particular technology has far outpaced policy. I think you see lawmakers at every level trying to catch up furiously. And the reason they're trying so hard is because I think they see the value in it, and so do I. But I also see the risk in it, and for us as a smaller city, to take on that level of risk seems irresponsible to me. So I'm willing to pause until the policy catches up, and we'll continue to have this discussion as it goes.
Can I ask City Manager Pingle or another director potentially to just lay out what we're talking about when we talk about public records risk, just so that we have all that information, but I want to make sure that the public understands what we're talking about.
So I'm going to invite Director Westman to chime in additionally because she'll speak to it much more fluently than I will. Essentially, as has been mentioned before, the flock data goes away every 30 days. And what we've seen happen in the state and why we wanted to pause was because a city was sued for not being able to fill a public records request because of that scenario. And so when somebody made the records request, the record existed, but by the time the records request went to be filled, the record was gone. And that's not allowed in the state of Washington. And that city got sued and lost. And so we want to avoid that. We've expressed, so as city staff, our primary concern has simply been that public records issue. It creates a risk and a liability issue for the city. But it also points to the contract in general, where we've generally not had an issue with the King County Sheriff's Office managing a contract on the city's behalf, but it's also never created this public records or liability issue for the city. And so that's part of the scenario as far as moving forward, who should carry that contract. And so that's part of, from city staff making a recommendation to the city council, that's where our concerns lie.
To piggyback on that, I think City Manager Pinkel covered it really well. One of the reasons why the city is concerned about public records risk is that any claim or lawsuit that was filed against the city for a public records issue is not covered by any insurance. It is covered by general fund dollars. And so that is tax dollars to everyone that pays taxes in this town. And so there is no insurance policy to back us up if we were held liable. It's not just the cost of that handed down amount, it's also all of our city attorney time to defend us. So it can be very costly. This is why cities avoid them at all costs. One of the concerns I've had since July about this is the records concern. And also it is, I believe, in my understanding, is that this is the only contract that the city of Newcastle executed. The contract is in my FAQ. We executed the contract with Flock, but the city does not have access to Flock. I cannot log in. I do not have access to the records. I have to rely on KCSO to fulfill those records, which is great. I think they're very talented staff. The problem is that if there is a mistake made on their end, we will be held liable because they are our records. It is our contract. That is what the contract with Flock says. There isn't an asterisk on it that we can get out of. They would be ours. And so at its fundamental core, it is the contract and how we executed it. We, the city, contract with KCSO. The city staff, us, all 23 of us that work here, can't, it's how the contract was executed. And now that we've uncovered this issue, I don't know how we will ever solve it so long as the city holds the contract. That is at its core the problem. I do not think anyone is arguing that it has solved cases. I believe Detective Ford, I believe Chief Mendel in that. As where I sit as risk manager, my concern is not Flock even. My concern is the risk to the city, and it is my job to help protect us at whatever, however possible. And I do not see an avenue out of it so long as we hold the contract. And so with that, I'll take any questions.
Councilmember Jacobs?
I have several thoughts. I've learned more about automated license plate readers than I ever imagined in my life that I would know over the last couple of weeks. I just want to say I've gotten a lot of comments from people in the community, both positive and pros and cons. I did want to say one quote I did read. All technologies have pros and cons, and it is important that the city council is informed on both. I think that's what we're trying to do tonight, is really look at what our options are in the future and not really rush into anything that, like Jane said, and thank you for putting those questions out there and answers. I appreciate that. There's no reason to rush into any decisions that we need to make on these cameras. They're off currently. I think that's public information, so I know there's been a lot of discussion amongst all of the groups here and so on. So I think if we really want to learn about the cameras themselves and the technology, we need to study it a little further and really put a pause on what we look at for the future for the city.
Councilmember Griffin?
Is it possible for Newcastle to palm their contract with the cameras over to the county?
What is possible and what will happen might be two different things. Certainly, I would say possible. Say, though, on the chief, at the county level and even at the municipal level, that's above my pay grade. I can't necessarily make that decision. Currently, all of the cameras that are contracted through the sheriff's office are all with contract cities. And I don't know if that's for budgeting reasons or if that happens to be something because that's what King County Council desired and has made a decision on.
Seems like if we could have King County, we just give them over to King County because it helps them with their police work. It gets us out of the loop of being responsible for them. Right?
Yeah, I definitely think that's a question for King County Sheriff's Office leadership, and we've expressed that to them.
Deputy Mayor Charbonneau?
Thank you. So, yeah, thank you, Chief. I think, so my approach with sort of our law enforcement with Newcastle, with my entire time I've been in service was, I want to trust y'all's subject matter expertise, and I want to be supportive, but I'm not going to say how to best solve crimes and how to do all that. That's not my job, and that will never be my job, and I want to rely on that. So, I do, I like I think Councilmember Villasenor said, I think we've seen its merit as sort of something to address crime, something to search into that. I think they're currently paused. The hope is that the legislature would make it so that those records could be deemed transitory, so we wouldn't get caught in a liability hurdle or just liability kind of jam, and then we could move forward from there. I think until it's unpaused, our hands are kind of tied. But I mean, that's there's about a month more of the legislative sessions. I hope that's soon. The thing I want to have a conversation with you about and with this council about is, I trust our police force using this technology to look into these things and use your expertise. I become much more wildly uncomfortable with the prospect of HOAs are doing that. I think this is an incredibly powerful technology, and I think much like we support equipment for you all of riot shields, firearms, all that, I want the people with the training using it. And I think I personally think it's a dangerous precedent when you get into HOA ownership and looking at, maybe them trying to, please correct me if you have a different view. I think anything caught on those from maybe an HOA area, would be caught by our main cameras anyway that cover most of our ins and outs of the city. So I want to know, is there any HOAs that currently have these cameras installed? I would potentially be interested in looking at, I want to have more of a conversation about it. I would potentially be interested in looking at preventing them from buying this technology, because I think there could be so many invasions of privacy and other things that could happen if it's not. I want the police managing it. I don't want private citizens managing it, quite frankly.
Quick question. Yes. Do we know how long we could pause the program without defaulting on the contractor being in a legal jeopardy there?
So we pay for them once a year, and we re-upped our contract for the additional year in August or July, I believe. And so if we'll have to pay for them again at that time frame this year, we would love to not pay for turned off cameras. But we're not defaulting on anything. We're just paying for something that we're not using. And if we wanted to end the contract, we have a 30-day notice clause.
Councilmember Jacobs?
I'd like to make a motion if I could. I move that we adopt a temporary moratorium on placement, installation, and operation of automated license plate readers within city-owned public spaces and the public right-of-way, including city-owned ALPRs.
Is there a second? Okay, would you like to speak to your motion, Councilmember Jacobs?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. I think we have a great opportunity here to really, and I just want to say this out loud. I'm not opposed to these cameras. Like the deputy mayor said, and Councilman Charbon, or Villasenor, the technology is there and it can be very valuable, as the chief and everybody has pointed out. I'm just not comfortable putting them in neighborhoods. I'm not comfortable with this kind of free-for-all, wanting to go out and do whatever the HOAs want to do and so on. I think there's a time and the place for the cameras. I think, but I just would like to take the time to really understand that we're utilizing them properly, where the information goes. And like my fellow councilman said, the state's going to mandate something regardless. And I think in the interim, we potentially should have a stopgap in place in Newcastle.
Councilmember Villasenor, would you like to speak to your second?
Just to reiterate, I think we just have a very large hurdle to overcome before we can continue having a conversation about this technology. And until we get there, I would like to pause them.
I want to continue this discussion before we vote, so everyone can have an opportunity to speak to this motion if you'd like. So Deputy Mayor Charbonneau.
Thank you. A couple quick questions. Procedurally, what is required from council to lift a temporary moratorium if we wanted to in the future? Got it.
Make a motion.
Enough. Do that all the time. I guess the concern I raised about them in neighborhoods is addressed by this motion. It also, in this motion, includes city-owned ALPRs. I guess, I would love, Chief Mandel, if you could comment on your views of these cameras in neighborhoods and just sort of, if she can comment, but she hasn't unmuted herself. I'd just love to hear more about that and address some of those concerns I brought up in terms of private citizens accessing this level of data versus the police managing it.
Well, private entities, whether they be HOAs or businesses within the city, can make their own decision to purchase. I believe the city can say, but you can't place those cameras, HOA, on the public right-of-way, on a traffic light, on the sidewalk. How the HOA and exactly what they do with that information, just like our city risk manager is not criminal justice information certified, CJIS certified, so she cannot, nor can anyone in the city outside of a law enforcement officer access that data. Neither can the HOA once they have that data. The private entity who has the flock camera can allow the local law enforcement agency, that is Newcastle Police, to have access to that. If there is a crime in the neighborhood and a car was captured on their automatic license plate reader, they could give us the authority to try to solve that crime using the data that is owned by that HOA.
So the Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, where they put it or whether or not they decide to use it as a private entity, that is up to them. I'll be honest with you, as someone who is in charge of the public safety and the law enforcement in the city, I personally love the fact that those agencies would give us access to try to solve those crimes. But, I mean, they can make those decisions. If they elect not to have the camera, then, you know, whether or not I have access to that information isn't, I mean, it's not even on the table.
So, just to clarify a little bit what we're talking about, so you provided to the council the standard operating procedures from King County Sheriff's Office regarding this, and I think it's really good procedures in place for when you all access this data. Additionally, it's been mentioned that the state is currently looking at a bill, and they're in session right now, that would kind of reiterate a lot of what you all are already doing at King County Sheriff's Office, but making it a law, that's how it needs to be done everywhere in the state of Washington. I think, so if I heard you correctly, or can you please help us understand, when private entities put in these cameras, I heard you say that only law enforcement officers can access the data?
Correct.
Can you help me understand how that's, where does that come from? That's, who's saying that?
The information that is collected or the information that is accessible to law enforcement from reading someone's license plate is not available to the public. That's why I, to be honest, was shocked that the Skagit County Court made it such that the data that is collected by cameras is available for public disclosure. Why should that information be available to the public if it's not available to the city's risk manager? It seems odd to me. My belief is that the Senate bill that is under consideration right now in Olympia is going to make it such that, or perhaps is proposing to make it such that the data that is collected by Flock and stored on their servers is not available for public disclosure unless or until it is accessed or queried by law enforcement agency. Currently with our system and the SOP, the standard operating procedure set forth by the King County Sheriff's Office, we cannot make an inquiry into the data that is owned by the city of Newcastle or that we're given access to from another city unless we can associate it to a specific crime, enter a case number, and give that law enforcement purpose of accessing that data. So the ability is for an HOA to further kind of protect their neighborhoods or increase the ability for us to help them solve the crime. They can access or they can have a contract with Flock. I wish I could speak to it more, and that's why I'm disappointed. I'm not certain where Lily went because I know that she could speak to this more directly than I could. But it is an opportunity for the HOA or for Starbucks. Oh, hi, Lily. Thank you. To have information the same way that perhaps your Ring camera would have, you know? You're recording information, you might be able to see on your Ring camera, oh, I can see the license plate, but you don't have the authority or the ability just to run the plate and then see what the return is. That is, who's the registered owner, who's the legal owner of that vehicle. But you can provide the detective a copy of your Ring camera video, and we would be able to access that information based on the license plate, and it could give us a lead to try to solve the crime. So it's just giving another way for, let's say, the HOA to try to better protect the citizens or the residents in that community.
So, thank you. I see Lily is with us. Can you hear us, Lily? Okay. I think the question is.
I call for the question. We've got a motion on the floor. Can we vote on it?
I mean, we can, but we're
We
having a
have more
discussion on it.
more discussion on it? I'd like more information.
Okay, we're gonna continue asking questions, but we will get to the motion. So Lily, I believe the question to you is, the concern is, I'm gonna put it this way, and I'm gonna speak for myself. I believe Chief Mandela when he says they can only King County Sheriff's Office can only access this data if they have a valid case number and all these parameters. Please explain what the concern is when a private entity is paying for the flock cameras. Why can't they access everything? Because the chief is saying you have to be able to be a, what's the acronym?
The CJIS, the information that is collected or that is even related to license plates to begin with is considered criminal justice information. And you have to be criminal justice info certified. We have to get recertified every year on the ability to have the authority to access that information.
So I understand that, but the concern is, how do we know that Flock is only giving that information to those people?
Hi, council member. I hope you can hear me okay. I
Yes,
want to
we
admit I cannot hear you guys very well. That's why I'm like zooming in to the speaker as much as I can. Thank you so much for having me at your meeting this evening and allowing me to join you. I'm happy to answer any and all questions regarding Flock here at the council meeting, as well as one-on-one with you guys as well. So please feel free to use me as a resource to confirm or answer or iron out any issues that are happening. Specifically to the question that you asked, when HOAs or any private entities are a customer of Flock, they can share one way to law enforcement. It does not go two ways. It is a one-way sharing to law enforcement. And Flock itself is FBI CJIS certified, as well as SOC 2. We've got world-class certifications for all of our data security and privacy protocols. All of those require specific rules to be in place and for them to be continually recertified as well. So to answer your question very simply, how do you know that we do not share, is because we as a company are FBI CJIS certified as well. We save all of our data on the Amazon GovCloud. It has the highest protections of data security. That includes data sanitization, every other protocol. I can go into length about this. It's probably easier for me to actually just send you an email listing all of our certifications. You can come to our website and download our certifications for verification of that as well. I hope that is sufficient.
Okay, I think we have some additional questions from other council members. So, Councilmember Jacobs.
I don't necessarily have a question. I just want to make another comment that I think Councilman Villasenor put it really well. This is not going to get solved in 30 or 45 minutes tonight. It's just not. And we can ask lots of questions tonight, but I think we've got to either get somebody here from Flock and sit down with the chief and the city council and really understand firsthand, not in 15, 20, or 30 minutes, what's really happening. We're all asking the same questions and we're all feeling the same way, but I think we need to get somebody in person to really, it's great that we're on camera and so on, but I think it would be beneficial for us to really have a discussion about this, or a study session about really understanding what the next steps look like for the city in general.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Frost Blakely.
Yes, I wanted to reference, which you referenced, Mayor, the King County Sheriff's Standard Operating Procedure for FLOC. I read through the entire document, and I must say it did provide some, it waylaid concerns that I had, and certainly I was hearing from the public. We heard some tonight, people say, no, people could hack into the cameras, they could get into the data easily, that ICE was getting into the database and using it with other federal agencies as well. Lily, perhaps you could reference that, other outside agencies getting their, accessing the data, but I will say with the King County Sheriff's operating procedure, you have safeguards in place, it appears, when you read through this. For example, KCSO will not automatically opt into statewide or national lookup programs. There are procedures in place there. There was, you were not going to send the information to ICE. I mean, healthcare facilities, so people that were worried about abortion providers or people getting aborted. So there were a lot of safeguards in place that I found, I think, very reassuring. And one other comment for both of you to address that I wanted to make. And doing a little research on this, it appears that municipalities often put in place legislation or certainly rules and guides for the municipality as well when they engage FLOC. Did we do that, or did we just sign the contract and then King County Sheriff's Office put together their procedures, but we don't have anything as far as rules for Newcastle?
We have no policy around
We
that.
have no policy for Newcastle. Okay. Anyway, if you could address the other topics that I brought up. Outside agencies obtaining the information.
As the City of Newcastle FLOC administrator, I'm the one who gets to determine who is it that has access to our data. And if I want to access another agency's law enforcement data from their FLOC cameras, I have to make a request of them. There is policy, standard operating procedures. We're not sharing this with federal agencies. By and large, most of the agencies that are operating with FLOC, a lot of them in county, are only sharing with other county or other state agencies. We do know that criminal activity runs far beyond municipal borders, and the ability for us to solve crimes locally and even help other agencies solve their own crimes is enhanced by FLOC data. The policy as well for the standard operating procedure in King County says that no, only on public right-of-way. We're not placing, no cameras are near parks. There are no pan, tilt, zoom cameras that are owned by the city. The cameras that the city has are at the biggest intersection in the city, and a south entrance and a north entrance to the city on public right-of-way. And that's it. And we don't share data with any of the federal agencies. We don't have any cameras near any schools. We don't have any cameras that would be near any medical facilities. The cameras themselves don't literally track someone's data. There was a concern made in public comment that, well, yes, I mean, if someone is to do a public disclosure request and can get all the data that's collected from a camera, yes, it would be possible to perhaps identify someone's patterns of life, as is the phrase. They could track that. That's why I think it is absurd, personally, that the court would say that all of that data is publicly disclosable. I don't like that, because an upset person who just had a relationship go sideways could technically put in a public disclosure request and say, I want to know license plate ABC123. How many times has that gone through the cameras that, in the city? That doesn't make any sense. The data that is accessible, it can't be searched by the city that technically owns the data as the contract is written. It can only be accessed by us. So I don't know why the courts would allow that. I hope that is addressed in the Senate or the House bill by the legislature. But as council members have already said, a lot of these questions can't, I suppose, be answered, and a lot of the concerns won't be addressed. I merely stand here to try to answer questions for you so you can understand how it helps me and my team ensure public safety and bring closure to some of the victims of the many property crimes in the city.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to adopt a temporary moratorium on the placement, installation, and operation of automated license plate readers within city-owned public spaces and the public right-of-way, including city-owned ALPRs. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. So thank you both for being here. I think we will likely continue this conversation, but I think before we move on, I just want to say to the public, right now, everything's paused. We're watching what's happening at the state level. We're waiting for more information and hoping that a lot of our concerns are being addressed at the state level, but we will have to come back and have a conversation later and how we're going to move forward in the future. Did you have a?
Yes, I was going to suggest that we also look at putting together best practices for our municipality and putting in rules, codify it, now that these could be. So it's Flock today, it could be something else tomorrow.
Right.
And so why not put in the facts and the procedures in place so we know how to, we don't run into the situation again.
Great. Thank you both for being here. Thank you, Detective Ford. Sorry you didn't get to do your presentation, but we appreciate the partnerships and we'll continue the conversations.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to speaking with you on this topic later this spring. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Okay, moving on to item 12.2, adoption. Should I move forward with this? City Attorney?
You can, but I'm going to have to advise on it. And my advice is that I believe that Councilmember Griffin is correct, and it was my fault. I knew the rule that the titles had to be on the agenda. I reviewed the agenda packet last week, and I missed it. So I apologize to the council for not allowing this to be considered tonight. The one fix that I can possibly offer is you can hold a special meeting before the 10th to consider and discuss the resolution and pass the resolution before the election if you want to. It simply requires a 24-hour notice for a special meeting agenda, and I can assure you that the ballot names and numbers will be on that agenda if you so want.
Okay. Thank you. So just to recap, item 12.2, which was potential adoption of resolution regarding school levy renewals. We are not able to discuss that tonight, but everyone has their own personal rights to speak about this however you'd like, not in public spaces. All right, we will move on to item 12.3, which is adoption of resolution 2026-1082, approving a policy governing the acceptance of donated artwork for display at city facilities. Deputy Mayor Charbonneau, you brought this forward. Would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, I would thank the city staff for putting this together. I spoke to it last meeting. Quite simply, we had folks that put together a mural, or mural's not the right word, mosaic at Newcastle Days. They wanted to donate to the city. We don't currently have a process in place for accepting donations of artwork. This is a policy brought forward by and vetted by our city staff and attorney for accepting donations of artwork at City Hall and just for the city to accept those donations. And I think it's a great policy to have in place moving forward, and that we can sort of represent those hardworking folks and those folks that want to beautify our spaces. So I would move to adopt Resolution 2026-1082, approving the policy governing the acceptance of donated artwork for display at city facilities as presented.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau, seconded by Councilmember Griffin, to adopt resolution number 2026-1082, approving the policy governing the acceptance of donated artwork for display at city facilities as presented. Would you like to speak to your motion anymore?
Nothing more to add.
Councilmember Griffin, would you like to speak to your second? Did you have a question?
I do. So avoids the creation of a public forum, but it is government speech, kind of in line with the discussion about flags, correct? I'm trying to remember that Supreme Court case. But anyway, I do recall that. So we do have the ability to reject artwork. Okay, so we're retaining that. And as long as we have a system that has been approved by the city council, it gives us the latitude to do that. Okay, great. Thank you very much for clarification.
The city council would approve it by ordinance, so we bring sort of to vote any individual piece of artwork, but this is the framework so we can even do that at all, if that makes sense.
I just want to, we don't want to get in a situation where we are given some artwork that people would find offensive that we could not put on display, and then we are sued because, my goodness, we accepted this artwork but not that artwork. That's the situation I'm trying to avoid for the city.
I think
that we have a rationale as to how we accept.
Correct. And it requires
And it's a
city
matter of
council
public record.
approval.
Yeah.
So by resolution, so that's how we could reject if we chose to. Yes,
I
Councilmember
think
Burkert.
as it stated right here, donor recognition, if any, shall be modest, content neutral, and subject to city approval. So recognition does not imply endorsement. So I think this is very clear here. But you see the content neutral. Now I'm curious about that gift. That mosaic is beautiful.
Well, we're not debating that.
Okay.
Gift. We're just talking about adopting this policy.
Yeah.
And I will just say, the way we tried to craft it was so that if somebody wants to donate something to the city, they're donating it with no strings attached, essentially. And so the city can decide how we want to display it, where we want to display it, if we want to display it. Oh, and we have to accept it by resolution to begin with, and there's no obligation on the city on what to accept or what not to accept.
Yeah, so you have multiple layers of protections.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. I'm not going to read it again. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Next up, item 12.4, adoption of ordinance approving a is that correct? Okay, non-exclusive franchise of with Hyperfiber of Washington LLC. I'm going to turn it over to City Manager Pingle.
Thank you, Mayor. I do just want to recognize Mitzi McMahon is in the audience. She's our contact with, they're doing business as Ripple Fiber. And so just wanted to recognize her. She's been great to work with. So just like our previous couple of franchise agreements for telecommunications, this one, other than the company that the franchise is with, is essentially the same. They're primarily governed by federal and state law, and so we fall in line with those for the telecommunications franchises. This is on for first reading only tonight, and so we really just need to read the ordinance title into the record, and we'll bring it back to the City Council for second reading and adoption at the next meeting. But happy to answer any questions if you have any about the franchise agreement.
Deputy Mayor.
I would invite sorry, I forgot her name that you just said. I would invite the representative from Ripple to speak if she'd like to, because she waited all this time to.
Yes, please.
I'll be quick, but thank you so much. My name's Mitzi McMahon. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for Ripple. And it's been a pleasure working with the city to get to this point. And we're just excited to be able to bring, we've got a 10 gig ready, all fiber network. And I'm happy to answer any questions, but I know it's been a long night. We're just excited to be working in the community, and I will just add that one of the draws that I had to Ripple was the integration with the community, and that's working with chambers and working with cities to, work on events and things in the community that, make a community what it is. So thanks again for all of the work to date.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to officially read into the record the considering the adoption of ordinance 2026-684, approving a non-exclusive franchise with Hyperfiber of Washington LLC. Thank you. Okay, now we will move on to our added agenda item, which is potentially raising the 12th man flag at City Hall. Deputy Mayor Charbonneau.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm happy to discuss this if folks want. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, though. Very excited to see something that hasn't happened since I was in high school, of the Seahawks being in the Super Bowl once again. I know with our proximity to the training facility, we have current and former coaches, staff, players that live in our city, and I've had a great partnership with them in the past. And as someone that has a mother and 3 very loud uncles from Massachusetts, it's a really great pleasure to push to raise the 12th man flag in support of the team in the Super Bowl, like we have in the past as well in past runs. So.
All right, do you have a motion?
I move to raise the 12th man flag at City Hall, effective immediately through to like the Monday after, until the Monday after, until Monday, February 9th. After.
I second.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau, seconded by Councilmember Burford to raise the 12th man flag at City Hall, effective immediately through Monday, February 9th. For the Super Bowl. Would you like to speak any more to your motions or seconds? Okay.
Go Hawks. This will be historic.
Great. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Go Hawks. All right, we're on to our second, our additional public comment period. City clerk, has anybody signed up? Great. So just to reiterate, who? Oh, he left. Okay. Is there anybody else from the audience that wants to speak? All right, well then I'll just go ahead and close the public comment period. Next is our planning calendar. City Manager Pingle.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. For our February 17th meeting, we do want to do council photos starting at 6 p.m. So for everyone's awareness, we want to do headshots. And so if you can arrive at that time, we'll be working with Adam Flash Photography. A couple of things for that meeting, a lot of general business. We'll have the critical areas update for you at that meeting that we just talked about today, along with a housekeeping ordinance for our land use code. We had initially planned on putting the license agreement in front of you at that meeting as well for the EV chargers, but that's going to get pushed to meeting simply because we are still working through the 2 agreements. and we want to make sure those are all in order. We also want to know what the ask of the city is going to be. So for the Lake Bourne project, it's in-kind work with the trenching, but since we're not necessarily tying it to the generator project anymore for the City Hall project, we want to make sure we understand what the ask of the city is going to be. Speaking with Thomas, he thought it would be more like $3,000 or $4,000 rather than 10, which is an easier ask than if it was going to be a lot larger number. I especially just want to call attention to the cost of the overall projects coming into the city as compared to what our contribution is. It's pretty incredible. And so we want to be aware of that. But we also want to make sure that the license agreements are honed in, and so we'll put those in front of you hopefully at the March 3rd meeting rather than at the next meeting. And then we'll have the second reading and adoption for Ripple Fiber for that franchise. I'll take any questions.
When are we planning on having a discussion about the generators? Do we know?
So that's up to the council. We can have that anytime you'd like. My assumption was that maybe that would be a retreat or a post-retreat discussion. Unless you want to do them earlier.
Could we get an update from you guys that,
Turn your mic.
could we get an update from the new hire that is coming on board? Give us maybe a quick shot at getting a better price.
We can definitely ask him to. By the meeting on the 17th, he'll be a weekend. I don't know how effective of a recommendation we might have from him at that point.
Well, maybe we can talk about it at the retreat. If we don't have, we'll start putting together the agenda. If we don't have time to have a real good discussion there, I think it deserves a really good discussion. So maybe we should give our new Public Works Director a little bit of time to get here and understand where we're at with that. So potentially maybe the first meeting in March, we could have a study session, or on the
Could I make a suggestion? And I know that I had this discussion with our city manager, that it be part of a discussion just on general emergency management, disaster management for the city, and look at it as part of the entire plan and how it fits in and whether it makes sense. Maybe partnering with other cities would make more sense, or other entities here in the city to help us meet the disaster mitigation goals. So that would be a suggestion.
Yeah, I actually thought that would be part of the discussion anyway, so thank you for pointing that out. Yes, Councilmember Burford.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to know, our city attorney, as you mentioned, election day will be on the 10th. So in order to support Issaquah School District and Bellevue School District levies, so do we have a time? So we're going to determine the time very soon. I'm curious about this.
Yeah, so that's a council decision. You can set special meetings whenever you want. You just have to tell us when you want one, and then we need 24 hours to get the notice out. So, please don't schedule one in 24 hours and 30 minutes. So, 2 days, and then we get the notice out, and then you hold the hearing, or the meeting, and you discuss, and you give anybody who has an opposing view an approximate equal amount of time to voice their views on the topic, and then you can vote on the resolution after that. So, the 10th is Tuesday.
Yeah, I just want to set, for the record, our resident, Mary, came, and I'm so touched by because she has been a substitute teacher for the Issaquah School District. For me, I'm a teacher, and also I think from our council as the whole, I really hope the nearby cities they have in support of those levies, because the levy renewal, I really want to general public they know that Newcastle, we care for our children and in our communities.
And again, if you want to take that action, and I do apologize again, council member, that I missed that. If you do want to take action one way or another on the proposed resolution, I'm sure that we can get that set up and you can have a special meeting to have that discussion. Sitting here right now, I could not tell you your remote meeting rules. So that's something I don't know off the top of my head. Often there are exceptions for meetings where you can show up by Zoom.
So how long does it take? I would suggest, since we're all here.
Yeah.
So, let's do it sooner than later.
Well, I mean, again, it's your guys' discussion and you need to make the decision, but I do generally agree with the concept that it's easier to schedule things when everyone's in the room.
Yes.
Councilmember Griffin?
How much is it going to mean to the residents of Newcastle to find that the council either supports or doesn't support the levies for Bellevue and Issaquah? Probably not much. They vote the way they want to vote. It'll be on their ballot.
Okay, Councilmember Jacobs?
Since we're discussing it apparently,
Well, we're discussing on whether we want to
Yeah.
have a special meeting.
yeah, I think it's pertinent that we have a discussion about this. I think to many, both residents and the council, I think there's some strong opinions, and I think it needs to be discussed sooner than later.
I would request that, as someone that does not have his work calendar in front of him and wants to know what the remote meeting rules are, I would request we figure this out over email.
Generally, I believe that discussions about scheduling meetings over email is not a violation of the Open Public Meetings Act, because I think it's a necessary thing to actually have a meeting, so I think that's fine if that's what you want to do.
I do not know my availability currently. I want to hear the rules on remote meetings if there's anything we don't currently know at this setting. I think that's the best way to move forward.
Okay. It sounds like we'll just talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really just, for the record, Issaquah School District, the director of communication came here last time, 2 weeks ago, and tonight, and spoke to all of us. And I heard him. I really want to show them we are productive. We can make decisions, so we don't have to always delay. So it's,
well, the reason there's a specific law to why we cannot discuss it tonight. And so we're now at a week before ballots are due. So if we want to have a special meeting, it sounds like we cannot find that time right in this second. So if we want to move forward with that, Deputy Mayor Charbonneau is suggesting we find a time over email. If we can find something and we can do it remotely, we don't have to do it remotely if everyone can come to City Hall.
Yeah. The reason why I made my statement, because I heard from our city attorney. So attorney also mentioned that it's doable if we would like to do it tonight. And also, okay, I got it.
No, it's doable to schedule it tonight, but not doable.
Okay, yeah, got it.
We can send out an email in the morning and get the discussion going on availability.
Great. I don't think we need to take a vote. We will go ahead with that plan. Thank you very much. Any other planning calendar questions? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
I was curious what month we were maybe targeting for the first town hall, and interested just generally, because we have a new council group, if it was worth doing it a little earlier in the year.
But I think that's up to you.
I asked for this to be at an agenda item for the retreat to talk about, kind of
Perfect.
how we're gonna communicate with the public, so that falls under that category.
Awesome.
Anything else? Planning calendar related? All right, with no further business, meeting is adjourned at 9:24 PM.